Gorgeous. Okay. Hello, this is the beginning of our session with Eve, who has requested some counseling support for her struggles with co-occurring mental health and substance issues. Hello, Eve. Thanks for coming back. How have things been since we last met?
I've been in recovery from drugs and alcohol for 5 years and 3 months ago when I found out I was HIV positive, and I ended up immediately falling back to the comfort of alcohol, and I hate myself for doing that. I feel worse that I'm drinking again than I do about having HIV.
I can hear how heavy that self-judgment feels, and yet I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge something else that I hear beneath that. I hear a woman of deep courage who's carried so much and still shows up to this work, willing to face it all.
I guess so. I worked so hard to stay clean. I went to meetings every single day, and the second I get this news, it's like all of that just disappeared. I still feel like I failed.
It sounds like something came back in when you thought you'd left it, that all your hard work has been erased. Like it's rewriting your story in a really harsh way. If that thing that pulled you back into drinking were something outside of you, like a visitor or a figure, what might you call it?
I don't know. Maybe it's like the critic or the snake that wraps around you when you're afraid.
Both of those names seem powerful. Do either of those feel more of what you're experiencing or feel more true to you, like the one of them, the critic or the snake?
Mm, Probably the snake, because I just feel like it's always lurking around, waiting for me to mess up, to strike. It doesn't seem to let up.
How do you feel when you notice that name coming forward?
Relieved, oddly, like I've identified the enemy.
Okay, great. So the snake slithers in, then it takes over. How does it introduce itself internally? Like, does it have a voice, a tone, a message?
It's like a soft voice at first, gentle and caring, and then it kind of gets louder and more demanding. It's like you deserve this and you can't handle this on your own, kind of.
Okay. Well, do you notice that voice or feeling showing up in other moments too?
Yeah, all the time. It's like this voice in my head that says, "See, you never really had it together. You're still the same screw up you've always been." It whispers that I'm not strong enough, and it says just one drink can calm this. And it promises relief and then takes over. Ever since I found out about the HIV, it's been louder than ever. It's told me I was dirty, that I deserved it, that nobody would want anything to do with me now.
Wow. That sounds like a brutal message. When the snake says those things, what impact does that have on what you believe about yourself or maybe some of the choices you feel you have?
It makes me want to disappear or just numb everything, I guess. That's why I reached for the alcohol again. It was the only thing that made it quiet, even for a little while.
Okay, so the snake kind of pushed you out towards the alcohol, almost like it offered a temporary escape from its own attacks. Does that seem right?
Yes, exactly. But then drinking brings more shame, so it's like a trap.
Well, it sounds like a cycle, the snake that thrives in that, using pain to lure you into something and then punishing you once you go there. Can we sit with the idea that the snake might not be a failure, but perhaps something that tried to take over when everything felt too overwhelming?
Maybe, I don't know. When I heard the diagnosis, everything blurred. It just felt like too much.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Many people, especially in moments of intense grief or shock, reach for something familiar. And for you, alcohol once offered an escape. Does the snake affect your relationships?
Yeah, it makes me want to isolate and keep everything hidden to not burden others. I pulled away from my family again. I worked so hard to reconnect with them after the divorce, after everything. And when I relapsed, came rushing in. I couldn't let them see me like that.
Okay. So, shame in partnership with the snake worked to push you into silence. But even while those voices got loud, you still reached out for help. You're here in this chair telling the truth of your story. That tells me something else was present too.
Maybe the part of me that doesn't want to give up.
Yeah, that same part that fought to stay sober for 5 years, that walked back into AA after the divorce, and the part that never stopped longing to reconnect with your family.
Yeah, I don't want to let this thing define me.
That's a good insight and a very important intention. When do you first remember the snake showing up?
I guess since I was a kid, after what my uncle did and I didn't tell anyone, I thought it was my fault and that I was dirty back then too.
So the snake has been in your story for a long time, using silence and fear to keep its grip. But I'm also hearing something else. That even back then, you found ways to keep going, to succeed in school, to get through. What do you think helped you survive, even with the snake present?
I don't know. I guess I just wanted to prove that I was more than what happened to me, that I could be someone different, that maybe if I worked hard enough, it would just go away.
Well, that sounds like an incredible amount of strength. Maybe part of your story, alongside the snake, is determined, resilient part of you that refused to be defined by what happened. Has that part had a name in your life?
Maybe hope or maybe just like determination. I don't know how I kept it going, but I just have.
Okay, so hope and determination, I like that. Maybe today we've uncovered two forces: the snake, which tries to pull you down, and the determination that's helped you get back up again and again. As we move forward, would it be okay if we spend some time getting to know more about that determination too?
Yeah, I think I'd like that. I feel like I've been stuck with the snake for so long that I forget about that other part.
Okay, then maybe together we can give more space to the parts of you that have helped you survive and even heal while gently loosening the grip the snake has had on your story. Has there been any recent moments when you noticed the snake's voice but chose not to follow it?
Yes, yesterday actually. I kind of felt it creeping in around 7, and I texted my sponsor instead. I didn't pick up a drink.
That is huge and so important. That moment shows you're stronger than the snake. What was going through your mind at the moment?
I felt scared, but also proud, like I don't have to do what this thing says.
So the snake didn't win, you did. If you could offer advice to a friend in the same spot, what would you think or what would you say to that friend?
I'd say you're not alone. This thing can be loud, and you don't have to listen. Reach out. You are stronger.
Okay. So Eve, can I name what I'm noticing?
Yeah.
I think that there is a powerful part of you that sees the snake, knows its tricks, and reaches for support instead of surrendering.
Yeah. I want to be that version of me more often.
Well, you face trauma, addiction, illness, and yet here you are. I hear you reclaiming a different story from the one the snake tries to write for you. If you could name that part of you that continues to resist and reach for hope, what would you call her?
Maybe the fighter or the me I want to be.
All right, let's hold on to her. As we continue, we can explore ways to listen more closely to her voice and help her stand firmer when the snake comes calling. We can call in the determination and the you want to be.
I like that. She's quieter, but she is there.
Well, Eve, you've named the problem, you've mapped how it works, and shown that resistance is alive in you. What do you think one small act your fighter might take this week to keep her voice louder?
I'll go to 2 meetings this week and I'll let my sister know that I've been struggling again.
Okay, well, that sounds like exactly the kind of steps that reclaims your story. Can I ask maybe what might make that hard to follow through on?
Honestly, everything. The meetings, I just feel embarrassed. I've been sober for years and now I have to walk in there again and say I relapsed. I don't want people to look at me like I failed.
Well, it sounds like the snake is already trying to get ahead of you, whispering that others will see you through its lens. Does that sound right?
Exactly. It tells me that I'll be judged and that I didn't try hard enough.
Okay, well, let's ask this. What might your fighter say to that voice? The one that tells you that relapse erases everything you've done.
Should probably say that's not true. I'm showing up, aren't I? I'm trying again.
Yeah. And what do you imagine others in the room would say if they heard that voice? People who've maybe walked in similar paths.
They'd probably say you're not alone. I guess a lot of people do relapse.
Exactly. So maybe walking into that room isn't about shame, it's about reclaiming community, rejoining your story of recovery, not restarting it. And about telling your sister, what do you imagine that might make that difficult?
Well, she's been so proud of me. We've just started talking again. I'm scared that I'll lose her again.
That's a very real fear, and I hear how much that reconnection means to you. Let me ask, if you don't tell her, how might the snake use that silence?
It'll probably feed on it. It always does. It says, see, you can't even be honest with your own family.
So, telling your sister might actually be a way to keep the snake from growing stronger. How could you share this with her in a way the fighter would feel proud of?
Maybe I could start by saying I need her support, that I've made a mistake, but I'm back on track.
Yeah, that sounds like a message of strength and truth. Would it help to write something down before the conversation or even role play it with me next time?
Yeah, I think I'd like that. I could write something down before we talk so I'm confident in what I want to say.
Okay, perfect. So you've got a plan, 2 meetings this week, and opening up to your sister. And we've also named the voices that might try to stop you and how your fighter plans to respond.
Yeah, I think I can do this. I'm nervous, but I'm not alone.
Exactly. You're not alone. And we'll check in on both of those next session. No judgment, just reflection. You're rebuilding your story on your own terms now, Eve. I want you to pause and honor what I've witnessed in you today. You've allowed me to sit with you in a place of deep pain. And in that space, I've seen something remarkable. A woman who has lived through violation, isolation, and illness, and yet who continues to reach for honesty, for healing, and for connection. What I've heard today is not a story of failure, but a story of fierce determination. A story that refuses to let the snake be the final author. And I want you to know I see the resilience that's been quietly holding you together all these years. Today, it really did speak out loud.
Thank you. I've never heard anyone say that before, not like that.
Yeah, well, you deserve to hear it. You've carried the story mostly alone for a long time, and now piece by piece, you're beginning to reauthor it. And I feel honored to witness that process.
It makes me feel like maybe I'm not just a mess up. Like the strong parts are real too.
They are. And from where I sit, they've been there all along, waiting for their place in the story. Thank you so much, Eve, for your honesty and your courage today.